Welcome, everyone. We'll call the June Elizabethton Board of Education meeting to order. At this time, I will call on Director Van Huss to lead us in a moment of silence and a pledge to the flag.
Please stand. Please pause for a moment of silence. Thank you. Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, it's now time to approve the consent agenda and regular agenda. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. Any questions about either one? I would, as far as the regular, we may approach that a little differently. Instead of breaking that, we may lump all those together if everyone's acceptable with that. But we'll read that in at that time, but just kind of keep that in mind. Okay. Any comments or questions? All right, the items to approve consent agenda and regular agenda. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And there are none. It's now time for citizens to speak. We did not have anyone request to speak before the board, and due to being the summer, we don't have our normal full house for recognitions. So we will move on to the director's update. So again, I'll turn it over to Mr. Van Huss to fill us in on everything.
Thank you, Mr. Pless. To start with, we have a couple of guests with us. We have Dr. Morehouse and Dr. Lose with Ballad Health. And Dr. Lose is going to share some information about the Ballad Health Academy, of which our students at Elizabethton High School are a part of. Just some really, really exciting things. And so, first of all, thank you for being here with us, and thank you for the information that you've shared, and again, just letting our school system be a part of this.
Absolutely. And this school system was one of the very first who raised their hand and said, yes, we want to be a part of this. Really not knowing much about what this is, they took that leap of faith with us, and so thank you all very, very much. What I provided to you this year, well, my name is Matthew Lose. I'm the Chief Academic Officer for Ballad. I'm a recovering general surgeon. Try not to hold that against me. Dr. Morehouse has coached me that the most important thing about my presentation tonight is brevity, so I will be brief. But I want to leave plenty of time if you all have questions. I want to answer every question you might have. But I provided you a packet of information because I assume, like me, you get stopped by your constituents with questions. And the Academy has been in the news quite a bit. So I wanted you all to be armed with some key information, some key points about what the Academy is. I want to kind of direct your attention to page 6, if I could. And on page 6, what you'll see there is what we envision the Academy to be at its full implementation. What we're doing over these first 5 years really is just the pilot phase. We're really just working on trying to develop the pathways for our children in high school to be able to graduate high school and move directly into a job that it pays a living wage. So we started with LPN because coming out of high school, getting an LPN, you can earn $48,000 a year. And so you can live on that. You can build a family on that. You can stay in our region on that, which is super important, as we all know. So that's why we started there. On page 6, you'll see the breadth of what we want to do eventually with the Academy. And not only does it concern patient-facing opportunities, so all the like x-ray techs, rad tech, all that sort of stuff, but also non-patient facing. So we know a lot of kids think, when they think about healthcare, think about doctors and nurses, for example. Oops. Well, we want to, educate them on there's a whole spectrum of ways that you can contribute, including non-direct patient care. So if they're scared of blood, for example, or those sorts of things, they can still contribute. They can still get a good, livable wage job through this program and through this pathway in things like IT, in things like HVAC, in things that are not, as I mentioned, directly patient business. So I wanted you to have that information as well. And then finally on the next page, page 7, this was an experiment, as I mentioned, and it was a leap of faith. And Elizabethton has been incredible to work with so far, and we're just getting started. And we hoped to recruit across the region 120 students. We recruited over 200. And that is just an absolute testament to our school systems, to our teachers, to our educators, to help our kids and parents understand the potential of what this program or a program like this can offer to a young person. And so we are so thankful to that. And as you'll notice from the numbers down there, I apologize, the blues, at least to my eyes, look very similar. You all are, basically kicking the pants off of some of our other larger high schools across the region, and as far as the number of kids who are engaged in the Ballard Health Academy. So thank you once again. I'll stop there. I will happily answer any questions you all have about the Academy. And again, just really appreciate the opportunity to come before you this evening.
I'll just tell you, I had a chance to attend the signing event that they had at Elizabethton High School. They did it first class. It was incredible. Really made all the students that have signed up to be a part of the Academy really feel special. Just been really impressed, again, with Ballard and their commitment to make this program work. And it's not just in words. They've put the money behind it to do that. So I just want to echo again how appreciative we are of being included. And I'm really excited about the opportunities for our students in Elizabethton.
Dr. Lose, I had a question.
Yes, sir.
The middle school
Yes.
that the numbers I'm seeing for
Yes.
are those, are you recruiting, those would be rising ninth graders?
Correct. That's right. That's
Do you
right.
see that coming to our middle school here? I don't see our middle school on the.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so in that, yes, we've been engaging with your middle school teachers, in introducing the academy as rising ninth graders. And so, yes, those will be areas that we continue to focus on in program development, career exploration, and things of that nature.
That's great.
And to be honest with you, from our side, from the staff, we're basically trying to staff up. We're almost full staff now, but during the time of recruitment, we tried to get to as many places as we could, and so I think that's probably the reason for this year, but moving forward for sure will be in the middle school year.
Yeah, for some reason in my mind, I thought that we had a few eighth graders that moved up that were
We do.
in line to participate as
We
well.
do.
May just not show,
Yeah.
And they could be included in those high school numbers that are there as well.
And
Okay.
TCAT is our higher education partner
Mhm.
in doing the LPN curriculum as students move through. So TCAT Elizabethton
It's been key.
is our higher ed partner in that space.
That's right.
It's a quality program for us, and I see several things on there that, that we participate in at that level. Yeah,
Absolutely. We're excited.
okay. Okay,
Any other questions?
questions, comments? All right.
Thank you all very much.
Thank
Again,
you. We
the
appreciate you
opportunity.
being here. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Morehouse. Yes.
So continuing on with my report, again, just want to welcome our newest board member again, Josh Smith. Been friends for a long time, so excited about you being on the board and all the positive public publicity that you've given us that we don't normally get. So just lots of positive comments about you and your willingness to serve. So we welcome you and look forward to working with you and your your contributions to the board. So thank you. A couple of updates. First of all, as far as the Dave Ryder Center for Athletic Performance, work has really picked up there in the last couple of weeks. All of the roofing structure is in place. They've started on the wall siding. They have the entry area and the restroom and storage areas. Those are all those wall panels are up. I was down there actually today. And on the, I guess that is the north side, they've started coming down between the stadium and the building. They've started coming down that side with the wall sheeting. And so they're also in there putting in the sprinkler system. The electrical subcontractors are in there putting all their rough in and things like that in the ceiling for the lighting. So lots of progress there. At this point, it looks as though The projected date is somewhere there around the second or third week of August that it will all be completed. There's been a lot of talk about, as you know, the Tweetsie Trail Jams concerts that will be in the stadium. I think it's Saturday, August the 8th, if I'm not mistaken, the date there, Chris Tomlin. But they need access into the stadium for the stage, the truck that brings the stage in. And so we've been assured that all the asphalt work will be completed around the building so they can get that truck in for the stage. So again, things continue to progress. Every day that we have without rain is a positive on that. Still a few more weeks until things are completely dried in, that won't be quite as much of an issue. If anyone has any desire to go down and take a look, feel free to give me a call anytime, and we can swing down there and let you see the progress. I'd be remiss if we didn't again thank City Council, and obviously we have Mike Simmerly here, the board liaison. Again, just can't thank City Council enough for their investment in our students. That, as you know, during budget season, they're pulled a million different directions on all the different departments, and all of them are extremely important. But I can't thank them enough for putting our students and our school system so high on their priority list to make it a point to give us the largest increase we've had in at least 25 to 30 years for the district. So we're very appreciative of the entire council, and especially Mr. Simmerly leading that charge as well. So publicly, thank you again. So again, we just heard from Dr. Lose with Ballard Academy. That is really something special. We'll continue to share information with you on that and the opportunities again that students in Elizabethton will have to partner with them and put them in line for some really quality, livable wage jobs in this area, so they don't have to move away. I mean, part of our goal is we want to provide students with opportunities to pursue whatever they want to, but part of our mission is we want them to stay in Elizabethton. We want them to stay in the area, if that's what they want to do. We just want to make sure there are opportunities for them to do that if they so desire to stay here. So this program is one of those avenues for individuals that are interested in the healthcare field to stay in the area. So we appreciate them very, very much. I also want to mention, as you know, John Hutchins is retiring. Here he's got about 2 weeks left. He's counting them down. He's got a big calendar on his wall in there. He's marking the days off. That's not true. That's not true. But we appreciate him for all of his many years of service, and just can't imagine, when I came up here, I can't even remember how many years ago, he took the little guy under his wing and, taught me all the good, the bad, and the ugly. And he's one of the last one that knows where all the skeletons are and all the closets. So, but we sincerely appreciate him and all of his work and dedication to the school system. So, thank you. Also, lots of work, as you can imagine, closing out the past school year and trying to get ready for the next one. Along those same lines, just some dates that I wanted to mention for you to remember. Again, just remember the next board meeting will be Tuesday, July 15th. And again, we requested to move that one in order for those of us that are attending the TSBA Legislative Institute. That will give us a chance to not be crammed quite so, for time to get down there Thursday evening. So again, that's Tuesday, July 15th at 5:30. Again, summer law starts the morning of the 18th and will run through midday on the 19th. And again, that's in Gatlinburg. Back to school bash. The back to school bash this year will be Tuesday, July the 29th, and that will be at Elizabethton High School, and that will be from 6 to 8 p.m. And again, if you've not had a chance to be there for that, I would encourage you to be there. Typically, if you come and you want to volunteer some time, you can do whatever you want to. There are several different ways that you could participate. In the past, we've had a lot of board members that will be at the station where we're handing out backpacks to students. That's a great way to see a lot of people in one spot, and we would love for you to come if you have time to hand out backpacks. So lots of work. Again, if you've not been to that event, you need to come. It's one of the greatest things we've ever done as a school system. We provide all kinds of different services for students and families. Probably the biggest hit are free haircuts. We'll probably have 15 to 20 different barbers and hair people there to provide haircuts free of charge to the students. I know, again, we're partnering with TCAT there. I think they're going to send about 10 different students in their program to come and assist, but just tons of great things going on. So if there's any way you can attend, I'd highly encourage that. I wanted to mention one other thing. You know, communication is so important this day and time, and we've, as you can imagine, across the different schools, across the system, you know, we have different platforms that teachers in classrooms may use, coaches in athletics, the band, the system itself sending out information. There's all these different platforms. So if you're a parent and you have a student that's in elementary school at the junior high and maybe one at the high school, you may have 5 or 6 different platforms you're trying to keep up and maintain information about your different children. So we have entered into a partnership with a company called Parent Square, and all of our school communication, from delays for or cancellations for snow, information from teachers to parents in the classroom, again, coaches, band, all of those, it will all be under one umbrella with Parent Square. So there'll be one app parents will have. They can get all of that information for all their students. We're excited about all the functionality of that as well. So we really think that's going to. We've heard from a lot of parents that's hard to keep up with. So we've listened, and we've tried to put something in place that, again, will streamline that and make that much more stakeholder friendly, I guess is a good way to put it. So, but that's all I have. Thank you very much, and that's it for me.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Van Hess. It's now time for board member reports. I don't know if anyone has anything. I don't think we've had meetings or events since. I know July we have what I think is one of my favorite is the summer law. I just think it's really good information, so look forward to that. Anybody? Anything? All right. Next, Mr. Simmerly, City Council Liaison Report. And again, welcome, Mr. Mike.
Again, it's summertime. Excuse the attire. It's baseball tonight, and it's going to be real short because I know we got a big agenda. I've only got one thing I've mentioned to a couple of you before the meeting started. Mr. Van Hess and I've had a couple of conversations about this now. Baseball. We play baseball in this town. Our Cyclone field, our River Riders field. If you've not been down lately, you need to go down and check it out. It's beautiful, great ball being played down there all year long. But we have a problem with the scoreboard. We've had a problem with this scoreboard for years. Every time it rains, it doesn't work. I don't know what's wrong with it. Last year, every year we spend $10,000 to $20,000 on repairs on the scoreboard. It's these little computer modules that something shorts out, it gets wet, it doesn't work. Anyway, we need to replace the scoreboard. So just want to put that out there. I know we just did our budgets. We're right in the middle of starting our new budgets this year. But I had mentioned before the meeting, I'm working on a lot of different angles. I've talked to Kiva Fuller, who is the drum manager with the River Riders, to get with Mr. Boyd, see maybe if we can beg and plead maybe a little bit of money from Boyd Sports, maybe a little bit of money from the school system, maybe a little money from the city, maybe a little money for some other sourcing. I don't know. But again, just have that in the back of your head, because I'll be bringing that hopefully back to you. I'm hoping maybe this summer sometime. I really don't know. It's just, again, when we can get some numbers together. Have no idea. It's a big scoreboard. Maybe we don't, I know Mr. Van Hus mentioned maybe we don't need one as big. I don't know. Maybe we need one that says Food City on it, or Pepsi Cola, or Coke.
Gar's a law firm. It's the one
Doctor enough.
ETSU.
Yeah, I like it. It may be the Lewis dental practice. I'm throwing darts, but we got a long meeting. But I want to throw that out there. Dr. Lewis is poking for some fun. But in any case, we do need a new scoreboard, and that's going to be coming up eventually on all of our agendas to work on. So again, just please work with me. Appreciate it. I know we just worked on our money. We just closed our budgets out, but it's something we'll have to look at down the road. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Simmerly, and again for you and the council's continued support. Our student liaison is appropriately on summer break, our outgoing and our incoming, so I'm sure that our new young lady will be with us either in July, but at least in August. So, and again, we appreciate Mr. Smith following in his son's footsteps. So he was certainly a quality person for us as a liaison.
Yeah, big shoes, big shoes.
Big
to-
shoes,
Yeah.
yeah, literal, big shoes to fill, so, all right. It's time to move into the regular agenda. First item is to approve agreement with Raptor Technologies for the Raptor Emergency Management Suite and Badge Alert System for the 25-26 school year at a cost not to exceed $46,000 using TIPS Cooperative Purchasing. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
All right.
So very quickly, you may remember Raptor Technologies is the system that we use internally in the school system. Every employee that we have has access to the Raptor app, and what that allows them to do if they're in a situation where they need assistance from administrators or there's a need to call a lockdown in the school, they have an app that will allow them to do that. They basically push a button and it sends that information to who needs to have that, and we go through that whole process. As you know, there's been a lot of talk recently about, you may have heard other districts that have purchased panic buttons, basically where around the neck, you push the button on the item itself, and it will send an alert, basically the same thing, telling everyone that there's an emergency. So we currently don't have that technology. I really feel like in the next year or two, the state is going to mandate that. They're very close to doing that now. I'm really surprised it didn't happen this year. So we really like all of the suite of services that Raptor provide for us. So they also have a reunification plan. So God forbid we have an emergency and we have to relocate, and then we're trying to put together a plan to return students back to their parents. There's a whole part of that technology system that allows us to do that. All the students are in there. We actually had a drill for this about 2 weeks ago internally with some teachers as well as administrators to kind of what would that reunification process look like. So we didn't want to do away with Raptor. So Raptor has now added the panic button capabilities. So that's what we're proposing. That's what this particular item is. The good thing is when you look at the price point there, it's about twice what we normally pay, which is basically it's going to be $5,000 per school once we get the implementation in. So that's why this number is as large. There's obviously equipment that has to be purchased. It works on its own system, so they'll come in and install all of the equipment needed to operate this. So once it's in place, if a teacher pushes that button, it automatically sends that alert to who needs it, and it also will show them exactly where they are in the school. So they know exactly what the location is within 6 feet. So we're excited about this. This raises our level of responsiveness if there's an issue. Now instead of having to maybe pull your phone out and open it and try to find the app, it's literally just pushing some buttons on the badge itself. So I think it's worth every penny that we're investing in this. You think about the other safety features that we have in place, upgrades over the last few years. Again, the COPS grant we just did that put card readers on all the interior doors in the schools, the secure vestibules at every school, the impact resistant film that we've placed on all the windows across the school system. Other than putting up barbed wire fences, we've done about all that we can do from that standpoint. So just really encourage you to consider this purchase again, because I think it's worth every penny that we spend on it. So so once this initial cost of this it's a little under $46,000, once we do that, moving forward, it's somewhere around $25,000 a year. We'll have it again at every school. We're not going to add it here at the central office at this point. That may be something we look at the following year once we see how the system works. But we don't have students here either, so that's one. Not that we don't value the people that work here, but we don't have any students here either. We keep the doors locked here, and everyone here has access to the Raptor app as well if there's something that needs to happen. So, any other questions on that?
So that would start in the fall.
That's right. So it may take them a few months. It may not be ready the first day of school. They have to come in and put some sensors. The good thing is it doesn't affect our network, our Wi-Fi, anything like that. It works on its own system. If there's an issue where a badge fails, they just replace it. If one of the sensors fails, they replace it. So there's not a recurring equipment cost. That's all built into it. Yeah, yeah. The batteries are rechargeable. The buttons are rechargeable. It will actually send an email to whoever that badge is assigned to. We can set whatever percentage, like if the battery reaches 40%, and we want it to send, it'll send an email to that person. It can send that email every day until they recharge it, and it'll just recharge off a typical USB type or something that you can lay on a magnet, those magnet chargers. So we're looking at some ways that maybe we just make it mandatory at the start of every school year, you charge it, so we know that we're starting with a fresh charge. So I was really excited about the fact that there's no additional equipment charges moving forward. They just take care of all that. That's part of the package moving forward. So
What we have has been good, so we know that's why.
And all those other components that builds into the system. Okay, you have an emergency. Well, what's next? Well, the first thing you're going to have to keep track of everyone. So we use Raptor whenever we have a fire drill. So students evacuate the building. The teacher they have their class roll on there, and they click every student that's there. Well, Richard's not here today. He was absent, so they mark that on there. So there's an immediate accounting of every person in the building. It'll also, if we have this also works with our visitor management system, which is also Raptor. So if you've been to a school and you've had to present your ID and they scan that in, it's also built into it. So if we have an emergency that we need to evacuate, those individuals show up on there. So there's a way to account for them too. So it's pretty robust. I think adding the panic button feature to what we have, I think we have about the best around. That's great. So.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, the items to approve agreement with Raptor Technologies for the Raptor Emergency Management Suite and Badge Alert System for the 25-26 school year at a cost not to exceed $46,000 using TIPS Cooperative Purchasing. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And there are none. Next item, to approve Innovative 2.0 grant agreement totaling $180,000 with the University of Connecticut for athletic training services to begin July 1st, 2025 and end June 30th, 2028. I'll make the motion on that. Can I get a second?
Make a second.
Okay, and a second.
Okay, so I wanted to bring this to your attention. As you know, we've been very blessed in Elizabethton City Schools for 45 plus years to have Danny Smith and now his son Justin, who provided services for our students and student athletes if there are physical issues due to their activities. The reality is the way that there's so much activity, so many more requirements that students have from a prep standpoint, even in the off season. We have more and more students that are on campus all the time after hours. So we really need to have an athletic trainer, someone that's there basically the entire day that can help us address some of these issues. As you know right now, a huge thing is, especially in the summer, our practices in the heat index and someone to keep up with the heat index. That's very hard for a coach to do. There needs to be almost someone independent of that, checking that information, following that, and making that decision. We don't want any of our coaches to be in that situation to have to make that call. So that's just one example. You think about students that may not drive and they get injured at a ball game on Friday night. They come in Monday, they need to have some physical therapy. Well, what are they going to have to do? They're going to have to make an appointment. You're going to have to get transportation. Parents are probably going to have to take off work, come and get them, take them to the appointment, bring them back. Having this athletic trainer on campus, that's then all they're going to have to do is walk down actually to the new Dave Ryder Center for Athletic Performance. There will be a clinic in there where this individual is housed, and they can have their training done there, maybe at lunch, maybe during PE, or sometime during the day, so they don't have to leave campus. So I've asked Dr. Smith if he would come as well. So the essence of the grant, they're giving us $180,000, and that will basically pay for the trainer for those 3 years. And that gives us a chance to build into our budget to absorb that cost after 3 years. Thanks to Dr. Smith, he has someone lined up that will be starting July 1. So when you think about coming back from dead period, and fall sports are going to really crank up this summer. All the things that football's doing, again, outside, soccer, cross country, all these activities are outside where heat's going to be an issue. That person is going to be there to start helping us monitor that. So again, this is a grant. Dr. Smith, if you want to come up, and if there's, I'm sure there's some on your side, you're the technical guy, but I want to also thank Forrest Holt. When Forrest Holt was the AD, he brought this grant opportunity to us. Of course, then he stepped down, and we had Ryan Preswell in there who kind of took this to the next level. He actually took the grant and actually applied for the grant. We weren't very optimistic. We're like, well, how many people are trying for this? And lo and behold, about 2 months ago, we get an email that, hey, we've gotten it. So thanks to Ryan, and then, of course, Joe Diaz now, and, of course, Dr. Smith, we're in a position to really give us a 3-year period to get this program ramped up. So the athletic trainer will be an employee of physical therapy services. So we'll basically be reimbursing physical therapy services for this person providing these services in our school. Now, during this 3-year period, we'll look and see if that's the best arrangement for us and for physical therapy services, or do we want to transition that person into being an employee of the school system. A lot of school systems around Northeast, around the country, they hire their own. As a matter of fact, I think Johnson City, and they may have 3 or 4 on staff. So there's different models. We just want to find out what's the best model for us. So you have anything else to share on that?
I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I don't really have anything else to add. It was interesting when Coach Presnell brought this to my attention about this grant. He's like, there's no way we'll ever get it, but let's apply for it nonetheless. And I'm like, you're crazy, but I'll help you. And he phoned me after he submitted the grant. He's like, hey, we've done screwed up. We got approved for the grant. Because here's the thing is that it would be easier for Elizabethton City Schools to find a dentist to put in to do this than it would be an athletic trainer, or to put in a PT, because the athletic trainers it's very hard to find them due to the typical job requirements, the time constraints that they have, and the educational constraints with a master's program and all this. We've already hired the athletic trainer. She starts with us July 1st, who will then be there on the sidelines to take basically this healthcare burden away from the coaches and hopefully from the parents. I've treated a lot of your all's kids, so you know that when a kid or when your kid gets hurt, one of the things that you want to know is, what do I need to do? So having Amethyst is her name, Amethyst Crawford. Having Amethyst there is going to have somebody there day in and day out, from the first kid that arrives at practice to the last kid goes home. It's going to take a huge time constraint burden away from me, which will be wonderful, but it'll also have another set of very trained hands. She's got about 8 years under her belt as an athletic trainer. We're very excited to have her with us to be able to kind of loan out to you all with Elizabethton City Schools. I think it'll be a great thing. And then hopefully, like what Mr. Van Huss was saying, is that after 3 years, you all will reconvene and be like, hey, this has been a great setup, we love it, or this was awful, we don't want to do this anymore, which is fine as well. The beautiful thing with this grant is it allows basically you all as a school system kind of the financial freedom to be able to provide these services and see if it works. So, and the grant is kind of interesting how it's set up, is that the majority of the money the first year goes to salary, and then the salary component decreases, I think, for the next 2 years, but then it allows you to do more infrastructure projects within the training room and getting more emergency medical apparatuses there that you need. We had talked about the lightning sensor that can go on top of the school with the radar. that can then be sent out to ADs and principals and coaches for anybody that's having practices. And it's not just for Elizabethton High School, it's also for the middle school as well. So questions that you all have for me, I had this whole thing about what the Innovate Grant is and the Corey Stringer Institute. All of this money comes from the NFL Players Association. So when these guys get fined and all that stuff, this is where some of this money goes. So keep fining them for mouthing off to the news and all that stuff. So, and Corey Stringer actually died, I think, in 2001 from a heat-related illness. His core body temperature was, I think, 108. And they made all kinds of other changes due to that death, but this is the big outreach that has started through the University of Connecticut with this. So if you go and look online, the Innovate Grant, you're going to find a bunch of stuff about arts in the schools. That's not this. So you got to look up the Innovate Grant, Corey Stringer Institute, or University of Connecticut. Give you all kinds of information. It's an awesome thing. So very excited. So questions for me before I continue with the word vomit. What I happened to do. So
Just to remind you, if you remember I guess it was maybe last year, we entered into an agreement, September. We entered into an agreement with Physical Therapy Services to try to provide some of these things for us at a increased rate than what we had in the past. So we already have some money in the budget that's going toward these services. All that to say, when you pair that with the grant, that's going to allow us to take care of the person as well as he mentioned, start building up our equipment and different
it's going
things
to be
like
state
that.
of the art. It's going to be really, really nice.
Yeah.
So.
So our kids will have the best.
And we also have
We'll
community partners as well with Appalachian Watauga Orthopedics, also with Buck Sports through Ballad Health as well with Dr. Johnston and Dr. Mills. So we have the integration to be able to make sure, and this is my big pet peeve, that when the kid or kids get injured, that they see the right people the first time and not getting the wrong information. So I think that's one of the biggest things, is so that the kids and the parents get the right, not necessarily diagnosis, but get the right bit of information on how to care for this kid the first 24, 48 hours, whatever it happens to be.
And there's also the opportunity with Buck Sports for maybe some interns. Is that right, or what do you call those?
So
It's not necessarily part of this grant.
Right, no, it's not part of the grant. That has actually been kind of redirected because the money that was allocated by Ballad for that was for school systems that do not have access to an athletic trainer. So they're going to have one trainer at one of the county schools. The trainer that they were going to use for us, I don't know where they're going to end up sending that trainer. There's plenty of opportunities for them.
Yeah.
So, questions for me? Gentlemen,
Did a
thank you
good
all.
job. Yeah,
I
thank
appreciate it.
you.
Looking forward to it.
Appreciate
Yeah,
you.
thank you,
Thank you.
Justin. All right. So the item is to approve Innovative 2.0 grant agreement totaling $180,000 with the University of Connecticut for athletic training services to begin July 1, 2025 and end June 30th, 2028. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And there are none. Next item, approve the purchase of Chromebooks through the Chromebook replacement cycle in the amount of $149,906.96. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. I know this is just part of what we started.
Yeah, any questions on that? We're just in a cycle where we are replacing Chromebooks as their service life has ended. We've had this built in the budget for the last few years, just that normal cycle.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, items to approve the purchase of Chromebooks through the Chromebook replacement cycle in the amount of $149,906.96. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. And any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, approve the purchase of weight and strength equipment from Total Strength and Speed Incorporated for an amount not to exceed $151,000 using a TIPS cooperative purchasing agreement. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion.
Okay, motion. A second?
Second.
Second. All right.
Okay, so first of all, don't panic. Uh, This is the total list of equipment based on the staff there at the high school to equip the new weight room area in the Dave Ryder Center for Athletic Performance. The reason we're bringing this to you now is we're going through the process of trying to seek donations for a large portion of this. But what we wanted to be ready was that the board has approved this for us to do so that we're not in a time crunch to try to get the equipment in there once the building is ready. There's also the chance that inside our budget for the actual construction of the building, there's some contingency money and some allowances in there that looks like we may have anywhere from $40,000 to $45,000 left over that I would recommend that we push toward this project to equip the weight room. Last thing we want to do is build a great space and not have the equipment in there. But again, that's just basically a third of that. So the athletic department, you may have seen some things on social media, different groups have donated to the project, and we're very appreciative of that. So at this point, we don't have all the funding to buy all 151,000. We're working toward that. But again, what we would like for you to consider is approving that amount, and obviously we're not going to purchase anything that we don't have the money for. So put your mind at ease there. So if we end up with, $80,000, we're going to buy $80,000 worth of equipment, and then we'll look for some other avenues to add some additional equipment over time. And I want to put your mind at ease too that the area is not going to be empty. The weight room that we have now, quite frankly, is probably a little heavy with some equipment, so there's some things that will move out of that space into the new. But our intention is to continue to use the current weight room just because we have so many students and student athletes that want to use that space. So this will give us two areas to use, so our intention is to not completely dismantle the other one. But we can probably take some of those items out, move it into new space, and actually make the old space a little more functional. So if you've been in there, it's a little crowded. It's not, it's a long, narrow section underneath one set of the bleachers in the gym. It's just not really set up, floor space-wise to be very efficient for weightlifting. So any questions on that?
It is the one thing that's hardest to schedule in our town is for our athletes to do the weight training, because, used to really one group did that mostly, and now all groups are into that, development, and you have that one little narrow space. Everybody wants to claim it and use it, and you've got, girls and guys. I just think, even though the gym will be great, the turf area will be great, and everything, but the one thing that'll make maybe the biggest difference may be that weight room area, because we're growing by 200% of what we have now or something. I think it's huge. So
I don't want to date any of you in here, but for those of you that remember when we moved into the school, I've heard this, that there was basically one piece of universal weight equipment in that space. It was, a square, and it had, these different things off, and that was it. That was pretty much the weight room.
I witnessed it. That is accurate.
But
So-
it is.
Yeah, I don't know that I used it, but I did see it. So I tried to avoid it, but
For three sport athletes.
no,
Didn't have time to
I
work.
played sports just to keep from having to do workouts. So, but it is going to be a great thing.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
All right. Okay. Any other questions? The item is to approve the purchase of weight and strength equipment from Total Strength and Speed Incorporated for the amount not to exceed $151,000 using TIPS cooperative purchase agreement. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And motion carries. Next item, approve the award of bid number ECS 2024-2025-01 for sealing and striping EHS student parking lot to be awarded to Raptor Seal Coating in the amount of $78,474. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
So move, and a second.
Second.
Okay.
Okay, if you're like me, your stomach probably turned when you saw the amount to seal and stripe a parking lot. But you know, when you think about that parking lot, it's massive. To go in there and mill that asphalt down and put a new coat on, which is really what needs to happen, you're probably talking between $500,000 and $600,000 probably at least to do that, and I may be low on that number. But the real problem, if you've ever pulled into the parking lot off of Benberg Road in the evening, about like right now, the sun's out and it's setting in the west, when you pull in the parking lot, it's very hard to distinguish which lines are the real lines or lines that have been painted over the years as the traffic pattern and flows changed. So when we built the stadium, they came in, basically did that. They sealed it and restriped the whole parking lot. It was great, but just after a while, that's been 10 years ago, so it's worn away. So in this number, we put in there to put 2 coats of sealant on it. So hopefully it will last longer than the last one. So again, it's to put 2 coats of the sealant. They'll go in and clean all the cracks, fill those up, to try to address those issues, seal it 2 coats, and then come back in and repaint all of the lines in the space. To me, it's a safety concern if you've been in there. Again, the markings are old, they're starting to fade, and that's probably the most dangerous place that we have on campus on a daily basis, when those student drivers are leaving. And so it concerns me there. It concerns me people pulling on campus that may not be super familiar with the parking lot and mistaken some lines, thinking that they're in an aisle, in a space to park, but they're actually in an aisleway or something like that. And, miss a stop sign or, some things like that. So I really feel like this is a need, and it's more about safety than anything.
Yeah, both of my daughters cost me money in that park. Both of them.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
That may
Little
be a
minor
record.
dents and things, but yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah, they cost
Yeah.
me.
I've had one that has. The other one hadn't
Yeah,
yet,
my
but
daughter
yeah.
did, yeah.
Well, and kids just in general, they don't understand how dangerous driving in parking lots are. They just
Well, at
cut
the end of the
across.
day, they're all leaving at the same time, and
Yeah.
they're just going, yeah,
Yeah.
it cost me some money.
Yeah.
Both of them. Well, and I can vaguely remember, if my memories, we only budgeted about 50 or 55,000 for this project.
Yes, we
So
did. And
it's obviously come in over our budget.
yes, so we opened the bids last week ago, Monday, I think. Yeah, before the agenda came out on Tuesday. And again, we debated about, do we need to pull it back down and just do 1 coat? But we really felt like the investment in doing the 2 coats was the right thing to do to make it last as long as we can. And the reality is, that's probably the next thing that needs to happen. We're gonna have to consider milling that and re-asphalting that entire space. Again,
It'll
it's,
be done this summer before school starts.
yes. If it's approved tonight, they're chomping at the bit, so our hope is to try to get it finished over dead period, if it's approved.
Are you looking at all at the other parking?
So
area.
if we address this now, and this is a Band-Aid, and we look at doing that, what my suggestion would be is we may need to look at basically from the student parking lot all the way around the old band room, because as you know, part of the new
We'll be taking
project
care of
at
it,
the
yeah.
Dave Ryder Center, it's going to re-asphalt all that drive all the way back between the softball field and the building,
So
all the way
connect
out to
that.
Jason Witten Way. So we'd basically need to go down in front of the new band room and the old band room, around the flagpole area, back through CTE and the student parking lot, and then we'd have it all. But again, it's been there since, it's 50 years old.
Yeah,
So,
74.
Yeah.
73. Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay, the items to approve the award of bid number ECS 2024-2025-01 for sealing and striping EHS student parking lot to be awarded to Raptor Seal Coating in the amount of $78,474. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. And any opposed? And there are none. Next item, approve Elizabethton City Schools 5-year strategic plan for 2025 through 2030. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
And a second? I'll second. Okay.
So as you know, this is a requirement every 5 years that we have a strategic plan in place. And so we started looking at this, well, really over a year ago in preparation. If you look through the plan itself, you'll see there's a section on core beliefs. There's strategic intent as well. We spent a lot of time trying to line this up with some other things that we have within the school system. There's an appendix page, and you'll notice there's the Cyclone Circle of Support. This is something that we implemented back when I became director of schools about 6 years ago. It talks about the different aspects that we feel like are important to give students a quality education. So we've tried to build the plan also in light of that circle and those things that we feel are most important. There's also a curriculum instruction framework that's included that the curriculum committee has worked on as well. There's a foundational literacy skills plan. When you think about all the work that we've spent on early literacy in the school system in the last 4 or 5 years, that's attached as well. There's a five-year capital improvement plan that's part of that as well. There's a technology plan talking, and you addressed one of those things today, but when you think about teacher computers, there's all kinds of infrastructure that we'll have to be looking at replacing as the years go on. So that's part of that technology plan. There's our family engagement plan is attached to that as well. And then information from our Family Resource Center. As you know, that's housed at the CDEC. That's a new program for us. In spite of her dad, Chelsea's doing a great job there, getting that up and running, doing a lot of great things to help students and families in our community. So that's a part of it as well. But I'm very proud of the group that worked to put this plan together. Some of these plans you see, they're, all these pages long and all this. The appendices, the extra pieces here are the longest part. When you look at the strategic plan itself, I think it's very self-explanatory. It has a strategic priorities sections, how we're going to monitor those pieces. So I think it's a document that we can take as a school system and really guide what we do, as a district in the next 5 years. And, things change so rapidly, so this will be something that we continue to look at, annually to see if we need to work and tweak on. So any questions on that?
Thanks to all the people. That is it's a big undertaking.
Yeah, and Dr. Newman obviously spent a lot of time on this and the different committees. Carrie Taylor helped us put together, so graphically visually it's appealing. So thanks to them certainly for their efforts in that.
Okay. All right. No other comments or questions? The items to approve: Elizabethton City Schools 5-year strategic plan for the 2025 year through 2030. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And there are none. Next item, to approve the Board of Education meetings for the 25-26 school year. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion.
And a second? I've got a second there. All right.
Very
much.
Yeah, very typical, very standard. What we always like to do with this is look through the calendar and make sure we don't have a meeting scheduled maybe during fall break, for instance, or does the meeting fall, on a holiday or something like that. So at this point, the only issue we ran across was for July, that you all have already approved to move that based on the TSBA Legal Institute. So everything else falls in line for the third Thursday of the month. If there are issues that we encounter along the way, we can always you can look at that as a board to adjust meetings as long as we have enough time to give notice.
Okay. All right. Items to approve the Board of Education meetings for the 2025-2026 school year. All those in favor say aye. Aye. And any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, approve 3-year pricing agreement between Elizabethton City Schools and Magic School for artificial intelligence software package. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved. I'll make a second there.
So we formed an artificial intelligence committee about 3 months ago to start trying to get a handle on just the vastness of artificial intelligence and how it affects the school system, how it affects our teachers, instruction, students, all of that. And so there's 2 or 3 big buckets that we're really focusing on. The first one, and probably the most important, is training. Training on appropriate use, training on what tools are there. So you think about that, there's tools that staff can use, and again, you think about our students. The reality is students are already using artificial intelligence. There's no question, whether they're at school, at home, they're using it. Really, about anything that you and I do on our phone, really is affected by artificial intelligence. Everything from, you talk about something and you look at Facebook and it just so happens an ad for whatever you were talking about with your wife pops up on there. Just amazing, isn't it? But it's just permeating everything in our lives. So we feel a real sense of responsibility that it's there, they're going to use it. It's our job to teach them how to use it appropriately. So that's one big bucket. We're looking at, we've already had a couple of different trainings for staff. We've got another one before the school year starts with Grand Canyon University that will come in and do some additional training for staff. Again, looking at those tools and again, talking about things like, it's great to use, but make sure you don't put any of your personal information in there. That's the kind of training that we're talking about. They're going to use it. We want them to use it, the right way and responsibly. So that's staff and students as well. A big part that we feel like is important as a school system, they're going to use it. We want to use them in a safe way. And when they're with us, it's our responsibility to provide them with a tool that they can use it responsibly. So Magic School has a component, for instance, if you go in, if any of you all have ever used ChatGPT, and you go in and you ask it to generate a reference letter or whatever it may be, if you put any information, it takes whatever you put into it and it adds it to that knowledge base of AI. So it continues to grow as people, input things into it and request things. What Magic School does, it still gives students the access to all those, but Magic Schools, they pay these different AI companies like ChatGPT, Gemini, the different ones. They pay them for access so the student can access that information, but nothing from the student is fed into the system, if that makes sense. So it's basically a one-way street. They can access it. Yeah, they can access it, but their information doesn't become part of the system itself. So that's what Magic School does. We had a demo on this last week and another program as well. It is massive. There are so many things in there that teachers can use, students can use. I mean, it's almost overwhelming. So we're also working within the region. Magic Schools agreed if there's so many students, they're basing it on the number of students across the region. If we reach a certain level of students across the region, as districts add on, if we reach that number of students, they'll reduce the cost. So we're looking at 2 or 3 things there. The original cost projection we had it's basically cost $6 a student. If you notice this 3-year pricing agreement, this year we would only pay $350. We'd pay $350 per student for the first year. Next year it would be $450. The next year it would be $550. So it's still cheaper than what our original quote was. So this allows us to gradually work into that. It also allows us to invest a smaller amount now until we get our feel on how we can use it and make sure that it's for us. They will also bill us each year, so we're not paying for all 3 years right now. We'll pay for the first year if it's approved now, and we'll pay for year 2, this time next year. So again, training, and then we want to be able to provide a tool for our students and our teachers that we feel like safe that they can use. I won't say it's not totally without some responsibility on their part, but it's got some pretty good guardrails on it there that it's still functional, but we feel like it's safe.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, any comments or questions there? It is where we are.
It is.
So we need to do what we can.
It's not going away.
Oh, wait, no.
It's
It'll
gonna
be
be- it's
interesting
gonna
to
grow.
see what's next. I mean,
Yeah.
I just think the what's next comes quicker all the time. So, okay. The items to approve, three-year pricing agreement between Elizabethton City Schools and the Magic School for Artificial Intelligence Software Package. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. And anybody opposed? And there are none. And just, I'll go ahead and say to Bob and to Josh, this is probably your first rodeo with this next part, but it is kind of one of our biggest responsibility is setting policy. So we appreciate TSBA, but what I'll do, I'm going to read all the policies. And then if you have questions about a particular one, then we'll let Mr. Van Huss address that, and we'll kind of approach it that way. So, bear with me. The next item is to approve first reading of the following board policies: 1.1021, student board member; 1.407, school district records; 1.901, charter school applications; 1.903, charter school oversight; 1.905, charter school renewal; 1.906, charter school revocation; 2.403, surplus property sales; 3.202, emergency preparedness plan; 3.204, threat assessment team; 4.100, instructional program; 5.500, discrimination, harassment of employees, sexual, racial, ethnic, religious; 6.304, student discrimination, harassment, bullying, cyberbullying, and intimidation; 4.212, virtual education program; 4.301, interscholastic athletics; 4.403, library materials; 4.406, use of internet; 4.601, reporting student progress; 5.100, personnel goals; 5.110, compensation guides and contracts; 5.119, employment of retirees; 5.305, family and medical leave; 5.701, substitute teachers; 6.200, attendance; 6.303, questioning students and searches; 6.411, student wellness; 6.312, use of wireless communication devices; 6.600, student records; 6.300, code of conduct; 6.307, drug-free schools; 6.309, zero tolerance offenses; and 6.316, suspension. Can I get a motion to approve?
Good job.
Yeah.
Motion to approve.
Motion, all right, and a second.
Second.
All right. And again, just to get them read into the record, now, we've had a chance to see them, and see the changes. So are there particular questions over any policy, or are there, Mr. Van Huss, things that you want to emphasize?
Yeah. The first one is, the very first one, the 1.1021 student board member. That's obviously something we've had in place for many years. There's just now the requirement for the board to have a policy. So that's a brand new policy that's not in our policy manual right now. So just wanted to draw your attention to that one. Obviously, all those in section 1.9, there are 4 of those. Those all deal with charter school rules. Everything on here except the last section that I'll talk to you about are a direct result of legislative action that was taken this last General Assembly. So these are all things that came directly again from TSBA. That's one of the things that we pay for. They review our policies and they make recommendations on how to change language in the policy that meets the new state law. So that's the vast majority of these. If there are specific questions about them that you have, I can certainly do that. The other group at the bottom, starting with 6.300, the code of conduct, drug-free schools, zero tolerance offenses, and suspensions. We placed those on there after consultation with Mrs. Owen, our school board attorney. As you know, there's a problem across the country with THC and how readily accessible THC is for really anyone, and unfortunately our students. So in talking with her, there's some real challenges there around, okay, if you have a student that has a THC vape, well, what kind of THC is it? There's all of these different levels. There's some THC that's just illegal for anyone to have. There's others that you can have, but obviously a student can't have. So there's some question about when you look at the zero tolerance offenses where it talks about illegal drugs. Typically that means something that's illegal to have, period. It doesn't mean it's illegal. The ramification for that or the intent is not that it's illegal for a student to have. That's not the intent. So based on that and the difficulty in testing, it's super expensive and virtually impossible for a school system to every time they have one of these to take it and determine what kind it is. It's impossible. So in light of that, what we've added to, mainly in the zero tolerance offenses, you're gonna have all of those offenses that were always there, that are in statute. So it's the, all those things, violence in the school or all those things. But we've added another section that's board-approved zero tolerance. And what zero tolerance means is, if this happens, this is the punishment. That's what a lot of times we just assume zero tolerance means you're out for 180 days. Well, it just so happens all those statutory ones, they're all associated with you're out of school for 180 days. But that's not really what the policy means. Again, it just so happens all of those violations result in 180 days. So the section that we have for board says the first time a student is caught with THC of any kind, they'll be suspended for 30 days. Second time will be a 90-day suspension. The third time will be 180 days. So that's basically what the structure is, and why we felt like we needed to put that in policy again, because of all the challenges on how you test, and again, it's just a real issue. We really need help at the state level where they make it more difficult. It's just so easy to access. I mean, it's just so readily available. And if we do have someone that has one, I mean, chances are there's 3 other people that walking by them that have one as well that we don't even know about. And it's socially, it just seems like, oh, it's just a cool thing to do. They just don't understand the danger behind that. So we continue to work on educating students on that. And the dangers of that. Be careful. You don't know what you're ingesting anytime you take one of those vape, even if it says, it's just tobacco or something. You just don't know. So that's a real problem, again, across the country, not just here. So I wanted to point out those, because those are different. Those are ones that we as an administration, in consultation with our board attorney, that we're recommending to the board. So that's that whole the last 4 on the page. Is there any of those that you have a specific question about? Some years they're a little bit more difficult. They're a little more intricate. All of these, for the most part, were pretty self-explanatory. There's a section 4.100, 5.500, 6.304 that all deal with legislation passed about anti-Semitism and anti-discrimination policies. So those are all things that we're looking at changing based on those.
And our attorney reviews all of these to make sure we're
Yes.
compliant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And again, if we do ever feel like there needs to be change, we can go in and use our language, but then we still send it to our attorney to make sure it meets the letter of the law and everything. So that is part of what we do, but we do appreciate TSBA and for their help with these things. So, okay. Any comments or questions? Okay. And I believe what I'm going to do here is acceptable. The items to approve first reading of the following board policies that were read into the agenda earlier. Okay? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And there are none. All right. Again, before we mention the last meeting, thank you, Mr. Hutchison, Mr. Hutchins, for all your work. Look forward to maybe seeing you around again. Welcome again, Mr. Smith. Thank you so much. You honor us, as did Bob, for coming to be a part of us. Thank you for helping us with our responsibility here. The next regularly scheduled board meeting will again be Tuesday, July 15th, here at 5:30. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All right. Have a great evening.